SunChips.
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 SunChips. SunChips.
SunChips.
New SunChip bag. Noisy SunChip bag.
I love SunChips. Always have, ever since I can remember. I'm eating some right now, both while recording this and while writing the script. Garden Salsa. It's my favorite of the ones that I've tried, but I learned while researching this video that there are so many that I didn't even know about. Oh, not sponsored by the way, but if you're offering, get at me, FritoLay. You can totally afford me, trust me. Wait, what? A measly 7.47 billion? I won't work for a penny less than 7.5 billion, so looks like you're SOL, FritoLay. This is a joke, please sponsor me, I am poor. Hi there, I'm Viara, a knowable siren creature from beyond the depths of human understanding, and this is my first ever deep dive video. The thing about chips is they come in these chip bags. And from about 1958 until the spring of 2010, chip bags were typically made of some sort of layering of plastic and aluminum laminated together. And since chip wrappers can take upwards of 20 years to decompose, it's no wonder someone suggested it might be a good idea to start thinking a little greener. On April 16, 2009, FritoLay, a subsidiary of PepsiCo, posted a long article on their website about how, by Earth Day of 2010, April 22nd, they plan to have their SunChip brand chips come in, quote, the first fully compostable snack chip bag made from plant-based materials. This may seem odd to somebody who was around before 1958, seeing as old chip bags were typically made of some form of wax paper, but I digress. We know environmentally friendly packaging is a priority to our SunChips customers, said Gannon Jones, Vice President of Marketing of FritoLay North America. Our vision is to leave no trace. That's our sustainability vision. And when we thought about our food packaging, we thought, wouldn't it be great to have a food package that would leave no trace? This from Helmi Ansari, the head of sustainability at PepsiCo, subsidiary of FritoLay. Let's put a pin in that for now. Jay Gehring, Vice President of Packaging and R&D, FritoLay North America, explained in the article on the official website, quote, to make packaging that would interact differently in the environment, we had to change the composition of packaging and invent key technologies. Using plant-based renewable materials, we have a promising solution that will transform packaging and significantly impact the billions of snack food bags produced annually. The company's solution was to make a new type of bag from a corn-based plastic called polylactic acid, or PLA for short. If that sounds familiar, it's probably because it's the same stuff that many personal 3D printers use. And the best part? PLA only takes about 3 months to decompose in optimal landfill conditions, according to PepsiCo. Sounds great, right? Well, it didn't. Sound great, I mean. What it sounded like was, according to one Air Force pilot, louder than the cockpit of a jet. But why?
It's fucking science!
See, the new material they used, PLA, was just not as soft as the good old layered plastic and aluminum method. It had what's called a higher glass transition temperature, or the temperature at which something goes from a firm solid to a slightly softer, more malleable state. This means that when you grab a typical chip bag, it crinkles at a mostly tolerable 77 decibels or so. And that's because the glass transition temperature of Mylar, the technical term of the fused plastic and aluminum that's laminated together and made into chip bags, is quite low. Much lower than room temperature, in fact. But the new stuff's glass transition temperature was slightly higher than room temperature. This meant that any light touch, or God's forbid, a full-on grab of the bag, would cause it to elicit the loudest, most high-pitched crackling imaginable.
Getting a lot of complaints from customers about the bags making too much noise.
I don't know why.
Can't figure it out.
It was... well, it was loud. There's not much more to say about it. There was a video going around at the time of someone using a device to test the decibel levels the bag produced, and they apparently clocked it at 95. I couldn't find that specific one, but I did find several others, one of which got up to 104 decibels. The widely used chart at hearingconservation.org shows that hearing damage can occur at just 95 decibels of sustained listening. This puts the SunChips bag that was tested in the news segment at about on par with a snowmobile or motorcycle engine. Of course, the presenter basically wrapped the bag around the decibel meter and crinkled it, which is not usually what I do when I eat chips, but even at 95 decibels, that's on par with the subway train when you're standing just 200 feet away. But how long is sustained? How long do you have to crinkle that chip bag while you snack to risk potential hearing loss? Well, that depends on the actual loudness over time. This chart from the World Health Organization website says that 1 hour and 15 minutes is the length of time that it would take to sustain hearing damage from 95 decibels. So no, it's not likely that you could sustain hearing loss from just a bag of SunChips, unless you took an unusually long time to eat them, or maybe rustled the bag a ton while you did it, maybe even pressing the bag against your ear like a pillow, but not likely. Some people were clearly on board with saving the Earth.
Could you stand the noise to save the Earth?
Completely.
Yes, I do.
This one, definitely.
Save the Earth, right?
Yes.
Lauren Lake.
You know what? You got to give a little to give a little. As lawyers, we always talk about a balanced success. I can't even hear myself talk right now, Vinny. But as long as they don't change the taste, I say go green.
Though some said we were, quote, irritating a nation with these things.
All right, what do you guys, I mean, we are irritating a nation with these things. Is it worth saving the Earth? Corey, your thoughts? Is this irritating a nation?
As someone whose hearing's already damaged, I could still hear that too loud. It's killing me. I don't know.
Hey, Darren, can I offer you a chip? Yeah, you know what? Here's the
Facebook was pretty big around this time, and the meme group names were at their peak. The news got wind of the fact that
it's even managed to inspire Facebook sites called Nothing is Louder Than a SunChips Bag.
There's a Facebook group that's called I'm sorry, but I can't hear you over the SunChips bag.
They have 44,000 members.
Right.
it eventually topped out at around 52,000. Other similar groups included, quote, I wanted SunChips, but my roommate was sleeping, end quote. Something I hadn't considered was how this would affect movie theaters. But in the August 18, 2010 article from the Wall Street Journal, written by Suzanne Verenica, someone took to Facebook to warn theaters not to sell them at all. That same article tells another story of a 12-year-old girl who got told by her teacher to please try to open your bag quieter. And to be fair, some kids did try to make extra noise with the bags.
They're very good. But they're very loud.
But these things were just loud on their own. But surely a bit of bad press and a little loud crinkling wouldn't be enough to squash the whole project, right? Right? Well... At first, FritoLay tried to lean into it, putting notes on the bag saying this bag is louder because it's biodegradable, and adding, yes, the bag is loud, that's what change sounds like, to the shelf signs. In fact, FritoLay Canada, who received the bags on their shelves around March of 2010, got ahead of the issue and considered the noise level of the packaging when they introduced it. They made a new, now defunct, this is foreshadowing, Facebook page where they tried to educate people on why the new packaging was good and why they should just put up with a bit of noise. Tony Mata, Vice President of Marketing of FritoLay Canada, said, quote, the new SunChips compostable bag has caused quite a lot of noise for being noisy. We've had a record number of calls and emails to our office since we launched in February of this year, and despite what you may have heard, SunChips is and always was keeping this bag here in Canada. We believe that trading off a little noise in order to help shrink our footprint on the planet is worth it. And honestly, if I had read that at the time, I would have been smashing the share button to inflict the guilt of the ages upon any of my friends who dared to complain about the noisy bags.
Hey, Tula.
Hey, love your show, and I applaud this company. More companies should follow suit, especially those awful water bottle companies. But they absolutely, I'd buy it in a heartbeat, and I'd spend more money on it because it's recyclable and it's good for the earth. And I vote for the ball. Go for the animals. Love your show.
All right, thank you, Tula. Appreciate it.
They reportedly even offered a free pair of earplugs to anyone in Canada who purchased the chips in the new bag and decided they were too loud. And Canada didn't complain nearly as much as the US. Some Canadians even saw this as a mini victory over America, saying that FritoLay US showed, quote, cowardice in backing down when faced with the outcry from consumers. Our bag is loud, our bag is different, our bag is good for the environment, and our bag will remain on store shelves, they proclaimed in a video on their SunChips Canada Facebook page. I really wish I could find this video, and if anyone has seen it or remembers where I could get it, please let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you thought of it at the time and how you think of it now.
I'm Sarah Hashimoris for Smart Trend News. FritoLay is dropping its eco-friendly chip bag about 18 months after its debut, according to a USA Today report after consumers complained about the material used. According to the report, consumers complained that the material used for the bag was too noisy, and thousands even joined Facebook groups about the issue. Sales have fallen 11% over the past year, which caused SunChips to reconsider whether its green campaign is worth the trouble.
Despite their best efforts, the real nail in the coffin for these bags was simply numbers. Sales went down a whopping 11% in 2010. PepsiCo pulled the PLA bags from US shelves on all but their original SunChips flavor. The project limped along for another few months, with PepsiCo even trying a new adhesive in hopes of quieting down the bags. When that failed and sales continued to plummet, it was with a heavy heart that at the end of 2011, PepsiCo was forced to make the sad decision to let the earth die so that capitalism could live. PepsiCo and FritoLay had only positive things to say, of course. Many members of the public voiced their understandable disappointment. I'm disappointed that consumers didn't embrace the SunChips compostable bag more enthusiastically. A little noise with a compostable bag seems a small sacrifice when compared to the quieter plastic bags that will linger in a landfill for generations. Much of what we buy, both the products and the packaging, moves through our lives with little thought. But those items or packages don't just disappear when they are no longer in our homes. The noise served as a little reminder of the convenience we take for granted. This quote from 20-Minute Jan over at 20minutegarden.com. While consumers say they want companies to be more environmentally conscious, consumer pressure continues to be strong for companies' products to be convenient, predictable, and consumer-friendly, said Bruce Horowitz of USA Today. Everybody seems to be on the bandwagon for environmentally friendly packaging, said Joanne Hines, a packaging consultant who refers to herself as the packaging diva. But the problem is that bags like this come out without researching all the consequences.
Oh, why do my actions have consequences?
Consumers can be of two minds, too, she adds. While most mothers say they want, quote, greener packaging, Hines says, mothers also are the biggest purchasers of single-serve chip bags. And again, I think I would have been on their side in 2010. Why couldn't FritoLay just work on better biodegradable packaging while the old loud stuff stayed on the shelves? Because it was a good idea in theory. Right? Right? Well... But before I get into the nitty-gritty of that question, I just want to ask you to please give this video a like if you're enjoying it, and to subscribe so that you don't miss any further content. Thank you! In my research, I found quite a few reports about the bag not exactly living up to its, quote, 14 weeks compost claim. So I had to ask, what does it take to compost PLA? The consensus online seems to be a bit more heat than the typical at-home composting setup can put out at sustained intervals. The home pile temperature is lower than the EN 13432 or ASTM D6400 test temperatures. So compostable PLA in a home pile or tumbler is unlikely to complete the process of biodegradation within the time limits. I think this was almost certainly the issue with 20-Minute Garden's compost procedure. I went to their page on how to compost, and this part stood out to me. Although there are those who strongly advocate compost, quote, recipes that suggest that certain proportions of kitchen waste and yard waste need to be added to make compost correctly, that's generally not the way we view compost. We practice laissez-faire composting, and our experience is that it always works out fine. Except that one SunChips bag thing, but who's counting, right? But again, these were clearly made to be composted industrially. And PepsiCo's heart was in the right place, right? Like, it was a good idea, and done for the right reasons, right? Right? Well, our vision is to leave no trace. That's our sustainability vision. And when we thought about our food packaging, we thought, wouldn't it be great to have a food package that would leave no trace? In a March 18th of 2014 article on greenbiz.com, they explain what might have been the true motivation behind the intense research into biodegradable packaging. Two of the company's snack food brands, Fritos and Lay's, are big and well known. As a result, empty chip bags discarded in parks and on roadsides were, quote, branded litter. Items which publicly link the company to waste and negatively impact the brand's image for consumers. The article also pointed out that because Pepsi made such a huge deal about this launch of their 100% biodegradable packaging, they knew that they couldn't just go back to the original stuff. That's why they kept the new, louder packaging on their regular SunChip flavors for a while. And since people couldn't actually compost them in their home compost systems, a still quite niche activity at the time and even now, people were tossing them into recycling bins and assuming that they would be dealt with properly, or they just tossed them into the trash and thought, it'll biodegrade just as well in a landfill, right? FritoLay reportedly partnered with the Compost Council of Canada to try to educate consumers. Some people didn't even know the difference between recycling and compost to begin with, and honestly, I really didn't until I started researching for this clip. It's not that big of a thing near me. But even in Canada, some municipal green bin programs either didn't have the systems in place to deal with the PLA, or they just thought the bags were regular chip bags. Either way, many bags were turned away and ended up in landfills anyway. And, as we discussed, they won't biodegrade there. Look, I get it. We need to reduce the waste somehow. But what's the big deal with wanting to do it at the consumer end? Shouldn't companies instead be developing reusable packaging? Refillable even, maybe? There's an article on this issue in myplasticfreelife.com from October 10th, 2010 titled, quote, SunChips discontinues compostable bag. Do we care? This line from the post sums up my thoughts pretty exactly. For me, the issue is all about consumption. Global warming, or climate change as we now know it, is the result of overconsumption on a massive scale. Maybe a few chip bags are not going to make a huge difference, but that's the point. Creating a chip bag out of corn and touting it as eco-friendly obscures the real issue, which is a culture of convenience, overconsumption, and waste. To me, the bag is just another single-use package on the shelf, only slightly better than its plastic cousin. And honestly, yeah. The issue, as usual, is capitalism. It requires the average consumer to be worked half to death, so that they require conveniences like prepackaged bags of chips that they can buy during their 15-minute lunch break. So that same capitalist system cannot then assume that these same consumers are going to have the time, income, and know-how needed to properly recycle their bioplastics. Hell, we can't even get more than 35% of the US to recycle regular plastic. Aurora Gonzalez, a FritoLay spokeswoman, told USA Today in an article from 2010, quote, we are on a journey with compostable packaging. We are applying what we have learned from this first generation to get to the next generation of environmentally friendly packaging. The article is truly a great read and full of lots of information on the subject of SunChips bags and where we are today in comparison. I also emailed them on the day that I started research for this project, which was July of 2024, to ask whatever came of their research into better, quieter, biodegradable bags. This was their response, which, by the way, came in less than 5 hours. Thank you for contacting us. Our 2025 packaging sustainability agenda includes our strive to design 100% of our packaging to be recyclable, compostable, or biodegradable. Thanks again for reaching out to us. We value your loyalty and truly appreciate your business. And that's all well and good, but what can we do right now? And are bioplastics really even worth it? In a lot of places, big cities like Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver in Canada, and in Michigan, I checked. There's only 4 facilities listed as being able to dispose properly of bioplastics, and they're all in the Lower Peninsula, which means people in the UP are basically SOL. But couldn't you just hire someone to sort it though? I mean, they won't, of course, because while it would create jobs, it would also mean that they would have to pay more workers, and they don't want to do that. And of course, there's always the issue of if they screw up, it kind of messes everything up in the system. Part of the problem is that it's hard to train people and machines to distinguish between an errant plastic cup tossed in the green bin and a cup made of bioplastic. Not all facilities can process every kind of bioplastic, and it's hard to eyeball which is which. The chemistry of a bioplastic is completely different from an oil-based plastic. Joanne St. Goddard, Executive Director of the Recycling Council of Ontario, said, "They behave completely differently in the recycling system. The plastic resins that are created from oil are broken down at different temperatures and under different conditions. So if you add a bio-based plastic to that, you are literally gumming up the other plastic stream and rendering it completely useless." Biologist and assistant professor Tony Walker at Dalhousie University's School for Resource and Environmental Studies. If you want to be a better environmentalist, he suggested to reuse more items and to avoid buying biodegradable products. "It's marketing," he said. "They're mostly made of petroleum-based plastic, except they're engineered to break down into infinitely smaller pieces of microplastics at a faster rate. These microplastics, which can be chipped down to the size of plankton, can get into waterways and risk being consumed by humans or marine animals." And I have to agree with the author of the article, that's fucking terrifying. This article from sciencenews.org says, "In recent years, microplastics have been documented in all parts of the human lung, in maternal and fetal placental tissue, in human breast milk, and in human blood." So, knowing all that, what's the big deal with oh, there it is. Thank you for watching my first ever deep dive video. Again, I am Viara, lovable and unknowable siren creature from beyond the depths of human understanding and Generation 1 Zimbo. And if you enjoyed this, please do hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss another deep dive from me. Until next time, bye-bye. Tony Walker, a biologist and assistant professor at Dalhousie University. At Dalhousie's University for